He asked for help with cargo, but I realized the only cargo in that forest was supposed to be me. The thought did not form in Sam's mind with that kind of clarity, not at first. At first, it was just a low-frequency hum in his gut, a vibration of warning that he tried to ignore because he was 13 years old and had been raised to be polite to adults. Sam stood on the jagged bank of the Kuskokwim River, his boots sinking slightly into the cold, gray silt. The Alaskan wilderness stretched out around him, vast and indifferent, a landscape of bruising purples and muted greens under a hazy, sun-bleached sky. He was proud of being left alone. His uncle, Tim, had hiked upriver to check beaver traps, leaving Sam with a tackle box, a half-empty thermos of coffee, and the tacit understanding that he was old enough to hold down the camp. The silence of the river bend was absolute, broken only by the rhythmic lapping of the current against the drift. That was why the voice startled him so badly. It did not come from the water, but from the dense wall of alder and spruce behind him. Afternoon. Sam spun around, his hand instinctively gripping the handle of his fishing rod. A man was standing halfway down the slope that led from the dense tree line to the riverbank. He was still, unervingly so, like he had been standing there for 10 minutes just watching before he decided to speak. He wore a surplus camouflage jacket that was 2 sizes too big and a wool beanie pulled down low over his forehead. "Did not mean to spook you," the man said. He offered a smile, but it did not reach his eyes. His mouth opened just enough to reveal a gap where a canine tooth should have been. "I'm working with a hunting outfit just over the ridge. Outfitter down from Bethel." Sam relaxed his grip on the rod, exhaling a breath he had not realized he was holding. "Oh, okay. My uncle's just up the way," Sam lied, pointing vaguely north. "He'll be back any second." The man nodded, but his gaze did not follow Sam's finger. He kept his eyes locked on Sam's face. Good to have family close. "Listen, son, I am in a bit of a bind. I've got 2 crates of gear sitting just inside the tree line. My partner twisted his ankle, took the truck back. I need to haul them to the access road before the pickup crew gets here. Heavy stuff. Generators. I could use a strong pair of hands." Sam looked at the man, then back at the safety of the open water. The request was reasonable. That was the trap. It was mundane. It was the kind of thing Uncle Tim would do, help a neighbor, lend a hand. To say no felt childish, fearful. It felt like admitting he was not one of the grown-ups yet. "It's just right there?" Sam asked, his voice cracking slightly. 50 yards, the man said. "Quick in and out. I've got a $20 bill in my pocket with your name on it if you help me lug them to the trail." The man stepped back, gesturing toward the dark opening in the trees with his chin. He kept his hands behind his back. Sam hesitated. The hum in his stomach grew louder. The air felt suddenly thinner, the silence of the woods heavier. But the social pressure was a physical weight. He did not want to be the scared kid from the city. He wanted to be the guy who helped move the generator. Sam reeled in his line, securing the hook to the eyelet. "Okay," he said. "I can help." He took a step toward the slope, leaving the safety of the riverbank behind. The man did not move to lead the way immediately. He waited until Sam was within 5 feet, inside his personal space, before he turned. And in that moment, as Sam climbed the silt bank to join him, the choice was made. The invisible tether to the camp snapped, and he entered the man's orbit. The transition from the exposed riverbank to the tree line was jarring. The temperature dropped 5 degrees the second they stepped into the shade of the spruce. The ground changed from packed silt to a spongy, uneven carpet of moss and decaying pine needles that swallowed the sound of their footsteps. Sam followed the man, keeping a distance of about 4 paces. He expected to see the crates immediately. 50 yards, the man had said, but they passed the 50-yard mark, and the trees only grew denser. The undergrowth clawed at Sam's jeans, stripping away the comfort of civilization. "Is it much further?" Sam asked. "I really should not leave the fire unattended." "Just past that deadfall," the man said. His voice had lost the friendly lilt it held down by the water. It was flatter now, functional. Sam watched the man walk. There was something wrong with his gait. He moved with a heavy, deliberate plodding, but it was not clumsy. It was the walk of someone who knew exactly where to place his feet to avoid snapping a twig. But it was the back of the man's pants that caught Sam's attention. The camouflage trousers were soaked. Not just damp from the humid air, but saturated with dark, heavy mud. The stain went from the cuffs all the way up to the thighs. Sam's mind began to race, trying to make sense of the visual data. They were walking on moss. It was dry here. The riverbank had been silt, not this black, clinging muck. To get that muddy, you would not just be walking. You would have to be kneeling. And you would have to be kneeling in a swamp or a marsh for a long time. Waiting. "Hey!" Sam said, stopping. "I do not see any trail here." The man stopped, but he did not turn around immediately. He stood facing a thicket of devil's club and alder. "It's an old game trail. We use it to bypass the wind." "I think I'm going to head back," Sam said. The decision came out of his mouth before he fully processed it. The politeness was gone, replaced by the primitive brain screaming predator. "I forgot my knife. I need to get it." It was a stupid lie. The knife was on his belt. He touched it instinctively. The man turned around slowly. The space between them felt claustrophobic, despite the endless woods. For the first time, Sam realized the man had not moved his hands from behind his back since they met. Not once. Not to balance himself on the slope, not to push a branch out of the way. "You do not need a knife to carry a box," the man said. He took a step toward Sam. Sam took a step back, his heel catching on a root. He stumbled but caught himself. My uncle is probably back." "Your uncle is checking traps 3 miles upriver," the man said. The world tilted. The air left Sam's lungs. The man had not been guessing. He had been watching. He knew the schedule. He knew Sam was alone not by chance, but by observation. "How do you know that?" Sam whispered. The man did not answer. He just kept walking toward Sam, closing the distance. The smile was gone. His face was a mask of terrifying neutrality. It was not anger. It was the blank look of a butcher assessing a side of beef. He shifted his body, effectively blocking the clear path back to the river. To get around him, Sam would have to run through the dense brush, where he would be slower. "I said I'm going back," Sam said, his voice rising to a shout, hoping, praying the sound would carry. "Do not be difficult," the man said softly. "That's just a little further. You promised to help." The man was 10 feet away, then 8. He moved with a horrifying fluidity for someone in such heavy boots. Sam looked down at the man's hands, still hidden behind the muddy jacket. He imagined what was in them. Rope? Tape? A stone? "I see a knot," Sam stammered, backing up until his back hit the rough bark of a spruce tree. "I have to go." "You already here," the man said. He stopped 4 feet away. The smell coming off him was overpowering. A mix of old sweat, wet wool, and the copper tang of something dead. "Why make it hard?" "Where are the crates?" Sam demanded. It was a last-ditch effort to force reality back into the shape it was supposed to have. If the crates existed, this was just a misunderstanding. If the crates were real, he was not prey. The man stared at him, his eyes dead and glassy, like a shark's. Slowly, he nodded his head toward a patch of forest to their left. "Right there." Sam flicked his eyes to the spot. It was a wall of tangled vegetation, impenetrable, ancient alder branches woven together like a cage. There was no clearing. There was no game trail. There was certainly no place to stack 2 industrial generators. The ground, there was a depression in the earth, filled with black, stagnant water and mud. The only place in the immediate area that matched the stains on the man's knees. There were no crates. There was no hunting party. There was no partner with a twisted ankle. The realization hit Sam with the force of a physical blow. The cargo was not equipment. The request for a second pair of hands was not about lifting weight. It was about moving a body. His body. The man saw the realization dawn in Sam's eyes. The pretense evaporated. The posture of the friendly local guide dissolved, replaced by the coiled tension of a coiled spring. "You kids?" the man muttered, a sound that was half laugh, half sigh. "You never learn. You always stop walking right at the edge." The man's shoulders shifted. Finally, his hands came out from behind his back. They were empty. For a microsecond, Sam felt a surge of confusion, followed by a deeper wave of terror. The man did not need a weapon. His hands were large, scarred, and caked with the same dark earth. He held them out, palms open, fingers curling slightly. He was not reaching for a gun. He was reaching to grab. "Come here," the man said. Sam tried to scramble to the right, but the man lunged. It was not a clumsy stumble. It was an explosion of motion. The man covered the 4 feet between them in a heartbeat. Sam threw his hands up, a pathetic defense against the weight of a grown man. He felt the man's fingers brush the sleeve of his windbreaker. The grip was iron hard. The smell of the stagnant mud engulfed him. The man was not trying to hit him. He was trying to tackle him, to bear him down into the soft moss where sound would not carry. "No!" Sam screamed, the sound tearing at his throat. He twisted violently, the fabric of his jacket tearing. He fell backward, not away from the man, but underneath the reaching arms. Felt like the end. He was on the ground. The man was looming over him, a silhouette blocking out the hazy sun, the empty gap in his teeth visible as he breathed heavily. "Stop fighting," the man grunted, dropping his knee toward Sam's chest. Sam's hand, scrabbling blindly in the moss, closed around something hard. A root, a rock. It did not matter. It was the only part of the world that was not soft and yielding. As the man's weight came down, Sam did not try to push him off. He did not try to outmuscle the adult. He swung his arm in a frantic, jagged arc, driving the object into the man's shin. It was not a lethal blow. It was not even a particularly damaging one. But it was unexpected. The man hissed, his leg buckling just enough to shift his center of gravity. He stumbled to the side, his hand slipping from Sam's shoulder. That quarter second was the only gift the universe was going to give Sam. Sam rolled. He did not stand up. He scrambled on all fours like an animal until he had enough momentum to launch himself upright. He did not look back to see if the man was recovering. He did not look to see if he was being followed. He simply ran. He tore through the brush, ignoring the branches whipping his face, ignoring the roots trying to break his ankles. He ran with a singular, blinding clarity. The politeness was dead. The civilization was dead. There was only the river. He heard a sound behind him, a heavy crash of breaking wood. A curse shouted into the trees. "Get back here!" Sam did not slow down. He hit the slope of the riverbank so hard he nearly tumbled into the water. He scrambled over the driftwood, his breath coming in ragged, sobbing gasps. The camp was there, the tent, the fire pit. And there, stepping out from behind the truck, was Uncle Tim. Tim looked up, a wrench in his hand, a smile starting to form on his face that vanished instantly when he saw Sam. Sam collapsed by the fire pit, unable to speak, pointing frantically toward the tree line. Tim did not ask questions. He did not ask if Sam was okay. He saw the terror, the raw animal panic in the boyish eyes, and the wrench in his hand became a weapon. He moved Sam behind the truck and stood watching the tree line for an hour. Nothing emerged. The woods were silent. The wind blew softly through the spruce, innocent and empty. They packed camp in 10 minutes. Tim drove fast, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, his eyes constantly flicking to the rearview mirror. They did not speak until they were 40 miles away, sitting in a diner with fluorescent lights that felt too bright and too safe. Sam told him everything. The wet knees, the hands, the lie about the crates, the knowledge of Tim's schedule. Tim listened, his face pale. He called the state troopers from the payphone outside. They took a report. They promised to send a ranger to check the area. But Sam could tell from their voices they heard stories like this all the time. Drifters, squatters, imaginations running wild in the isolation. 2 nights later, they were back in Anchorage. Sam was sitting on the edge of his bed, the safety of his room feeling fragile, like a thin sheet of glass. The TV was on in the living room. Breaking news regarding the disappearance of 15-year-old Alex Miller. Sam walked into the living room. His mother was watching the screen, shaking her head. On the television, a photo of a boy flashed up. He had messy hair and a kind, trusting smile. He looked a little like Sam. Authorities say he was last seen 3 days ago near the Bethel Wilder.